Orthodox, Catholic, and Protestant. We hear these terms all the time, but have you ever stopped to wonder what really separates these three major branches of Christianity? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down nice and simple. Let's dive right in.
So here's the big question, right? If they all share one core faith, how did they end up with such different traditions, leaders, and practices? We're going to explore how history, culture, and theology carved out three very distinct paths from a single starting point.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the history, the big splits that created these branches. Then we'll get into the stuff you can actually see, like their books, symbols, and buildings. After that, we'll unpack their leadership and rituals, their styles of worship, and finally, what they believe about the afterlife and where you'll find their followers today.
To really get the differences, you gotta start with the history. I mean, how did one church end up splitting into three? It all boils down to a few really critical moments that basically changed the course of everything.
You know, for the first 1,000 years, there was pretty much just one church. But in 1054, big disagreements over authority and theology led to what's called the Great Schism. That's what split the church into the Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholic branches. Fast forward about 500 years, and the Protestant Reformation kicked off, challenging Catholic practices and creating the third major branch we know today.
What's super interesting is when you look at who they trace their roots to. The Orthodox tradition looks to St. Andrew, centered around ancient Byzantium. Catholic tradition, on the other hand, centers on St. Peter in Rome. But then you have Protestantism, which traces its break to Martin Luther in Wittenberg, a full 1,500 years later. He wasn't trying to start a whole new religion, but to reform the church that already existed.
Okay, so let's see how all that history actually translates into things you can see and touch, because the differences aren't just abstract ideas. They're visible in their holy books, their most important symbols, and even in the way they build their churches.
You might think the Bible is just the Bible, right? Well, not exactly. The Orthodox Bible has the most books, 76. The Catholic Bible has 73, and the Protestant Bible has the fewest, with 66. The whole difference is in the Old Testament. Basically, during the Reformation, Protestant leaders decided to stick to the shorter Hebrew version, while the Orthodox and Catholic churches kept the extra books that they'd been using for centuries.
Even the cross itself tells a different story. The Orthodox cross, with its 3 bars, is just packed with symbolism. It really emphasizes deep tradition and the whole, complete story of salvation.
Now, in the Catholic tradition, you'll often see a crucifix which actually has Jesus' body on it. The whole point of this design is to focus your attention on the reality of his suffering and his sacrifice.
Then you go into most Protestant churches, and you'll probably see a simple, plain cross. This really reflects their theology. For them, it's a symbol of a finished act. It emphasizes the resurrection and the victory over death, more so than the suffering itself.
And this difference in focus, it extends right into the buildings themselves. Orthodox and Catholic churches are often these massive, grand, ornate places designed to make you feel like you're in heaven on earth. But Protestant churches are typically way more simple and modest. That was a direct reaction against what the Reformers saw as excessive. The idea is to have no distractions, so the focus stays on the sermon.
Okay, so we've covered the visuals, but what about the actual practices? Let's get into the structure of authority and the core rituals, like who's in charge and what are the absolutely essential practices of the faith.
In Orthodox and Catholic traditions, priests are the spiritual guides. Their role is sacramental. They're the ones who perform rituals that are seen as conduits for God's grace. But in the Protestant world, the leader is a pastor. Their main job is to preach and teach the Bible and to lead the community. It reflects a core belief in a more direct, personal relationship with God.
And this is a huge one, the number of sacraments. Orthodox and Catholic churches have 7 of them, things like confession and marriage, but the Protestant reformers argued that only 2, baptism and communion, were clearly started by Jesus in the Bible. So they got rid of the others, seeing them as later church traditions, not essential commands.
And the differences keep on coming. In Orthodox and Catholic practice, you confess your sins to a priest. Protestants, they confess directly to God. Baptism is usually done for infants in Orthodox and Catholic churches, but a lot of Protestants wait for what's called believer's baptism as an adult. And finally, the Orthodox and Catholic calendars are full of holidays and saints' days, while most Protestants really just focus on Christmas and Easter.
All right, let's talk about what it actually feels like to be in a service. The sounds, the prayers, the whole vibe can be dramatically different depending on which branch you're in.
I mean, the music alone tells you so much. Orthodox worship is famous for its ancient, haunting a cappella chants. Catholic services often feature very structured classical music with powerful organs and choirs. And then you have many Protestant churches which have completely embraced modern, pop-style worship songs with guitars, drums, the whole band, all to create a more contemporary and, for them, engaging experience.
And what about how people pray? Orthodox Christians might use a prayer rope, while Catholics often use rosary beads. These physical tools actually came out of old monastic traditions to help focus and structure prayer. Protestants, on the other hand, generally steer clear of things like that. For them, the emphasis is on spontaneous personal prayer, and they tend to avoid anything that feels like it could become just empty repetition.
All right, for our final section, we're going to look at one really key theological difference when it comes to the afterlife. And then we'll zoom out and see where these three branches have spread across the world today.
This is a big one, and it's uniquely Catholic: Purgatory. It's a core belief in Catholic teaching that there's a temporary state where souls are purified before they can enter heaven. You just don't find this idea in Orthodox or Protestant theology. For them, it's pretty much a direct path to either heaven or hell.
So how many people actually follow each tradition today? Well, Catholicism is by far the largest, with about 1.3 billion followers worldwide. That's largely thanks to its early expansion with the Roman Empire. Protestantism is next with around 920 million, and it grew incredibly fast through reform movements and missions. And the Orthodox Church has about 260 million followers, who are concentrated mainly in Eastern Europe and the Middle East. And this map really shows you their different historical journeys. Today, Russia has the largest Orthodox population, which makes sense given its Byzantine roots. The largest Catholic population? It's in Brazil, a direct legacy of Portuguese colonization. And the United States has the most Protestants, which reflects that Protestant emphasis on translating the Bible into local languages and spreading it far and wide.
So there you have it. We've seen how theology, history, and culture all work together to create these three incredibly distinct branches of a single faith. From who's in charge to the kind of music they sing, their paths have really diverged. It kind of leaves you with a final question to chew on. How do these ancient divisions from centuries ago still shape and influence our world right now?